What's happening, everybody? It is season 2. Season 2. Welcome to the MBK Lounge Show. I'm your host, Greg Nicholson, and I'm so excited that you guys have tuned back in. I don't know if this is your first time. If it is, keep watching. But if you've been a long time watcher, you saw the last episode of season 1. And the show was about, what are we doing, fellas? What are we doing? And it really didn't provide a whole lot of answers. What it did was help us fellas see that there are some things that we need to do better to get it. And it could be a lot of things. And this is the follow-up show to that. So sit back, relax, and listen. But you know that I can't have this episode without actually having the person that I had here in episode 10. And that's my wife, Lisa Nicholson. Hey, Greg. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Thanks for having me back. I was surprised.
Yeah, it was, I deliberated. And I decided, you know what? I got to have you back. No, I mean, I had to have you back. I mean, as you recall, fellas, What Are We Doing was an episode where you shared with us, fellas, even though I felt like it was just me, just the stuff that we're doing. Like you said that we aren't doing things that's in our own best interest. And you shared just a lot of stuff that we need to really think about. And I actually wrote down some of those things for those people who are tuning in maybe for the first time. Hopefully everybody saw that last episode. But I'll put out some of the things that you said and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Absolutely.
So today, what I really want to do is eventually get to some things that I think that we can do. I had to do my homework. I had to really think about what are some things that we could do to address some of the stuff that you said that we need to be better at. So let me refresh.
Okay.
You said men work against their own interests. I already said that one, right? But you also said the most important things to us are sex, money, power, and position, right? You said we believe that we don't have to do much to get what we want. That's what we think. We think that all I got to do is just go to work. Want me to slow down?
No, I just want to say that, you know, as you go through these, they are generalizations, meaning that there's some guys who got all this together doing exactly what they need to do. And that's not about, it is not that wasn't a man bashing session or statement. I just think relationships are important, and I think it's important for us to spend our time being in relationships that work for us. And if they don't work, and we want to be in them, figure out how to make them work.
Right.
And so when you start identifying the things that you need, and those are just things that I have seen in my own marriage and in marriages of people that I know. And most of the people I know have good relationships.
Right.
Marriage ebbs and flows. You've been married long enough, it's an ebb and a flow.
Right.
So it's not necessarily that people, because I think also too, when you put this kind of content out, there's an immediate reaction to want to say, oh, this person this or this person that. And it's really not about that. Evaluate, chew on the meat and throw out the bone. The stuff that works. What?
Chew on the meat and what?
Throw out the bone. So, if you eat a piece of chicken, you eat the meat, you throw out the stuff that you can't, what I mean?
I just never heard you say that before.
The stuff that doesn't work. So I think that people immediately want to look and dive into, you might be hitting all cylinders. Right. You might be hitting every single thing right. You know what? It doesn't apply to you.
Right.
It doesn't apply. You know what I mean? So I think that people have to evaluate really. Some of this is just dialogue to make you think, am I that person? Am I in that space? It really isn't about, well, women are doing this and women, what are you doing to get what you want? How are you moving in your relationships, whether it's even a marital relationships or just your friendships? What are you doing to if you're not happy, and then what are you doing to get what you want? And then evaluate what that was. And then in the situations where sometimes I just think that in what I've seen you work against, men can sometimes work against their own best interest.
Right, me included. And I'm glad that you jumped in, because for somebody who maybe didn't see the last episode, they're like, man, Lisa was just, throwing haymakers. And the reality is that I just wanted to bring us back to that episode to kind of refresh what some of the things that you said. And, but I'm glad that you shared some of that, because I think in the end, this show is about us being better.
I'm straight up pro
in our purpose.
Relationship. Yeah, I am not anti, you need to be alone. No, I think people need to work out their situation. I think God placed us here to be in community with one another, to be in a place where we get along, and there's joy in your relationships. And we can't all do that if we can't see the good and the bad we bring to the table. You know what I mean? So I think that this isn't about,
So earlier I said I did my homework, right? So what that is I tried to lay out some things that I think that we can do, right? Because the question was, fellas, what are we doing? You talked about some of the things that we do, and you shared a little bit more about perspective just now. So I said, hey, look, what are some things, if I heard you, that day we talked, and look, we've been together for 30 years. I took everything that I possibly could and said, hey, what are some things that we can do?
And remember, we were specifically talking about guys. We weren't specifically talking about women. You know what I mean? In terms of,
this is all about men. This is the my brother's keeper, lounge show. So this is all about what we can do as men, right? So I was kind of walking through some of the things that you said, because we do believe that, hey, I go to work every day. I'm the head of the household. Maybe I am the breadwinner, maybe not, but as the man of the house, I'm the head of household. So I think that if I do those things, I should be able to get what I want, right? So, but one of the things that you mentioned was, and I'm not going to go through the whole list like I was, I'll pause here. You said that we don't listen, right? You remember that? So what I did was, if you give an idea of, I said, okay, so we need to do a better job of listening, right? Because what you said is we don't listen, and what we tend to do is we just want to solve the problem. We just want to give you the solution versus saying, hey, what I said was, maybe we need to let you vent. Right. Maybe we need to kind of just sit back and empathize a little bit with you. So talk a little bit about the whole idea of that practice, or being something that we do as guys. Is that a good idea? Is that something we should try to do?
I think but I think listening is a skill that we all need. Mm-hmm. And I think that we all just have to be in a space of, when someone says, I need you to listen, we have to be open to listening versus saying, I am listening. I am doing. You're not saying, you keep saying the same thing over. You know what I mean? And I think that sometimes people are repetitive in their speech because someone's not listening, or they don't feel heard. So it's really trying to figure out that dynamic to stop each other and say, hey, what can we do so that I do hear you better? Because the repetitiveness or the nagging comes in because the person doesn't feel heard. Because when I'm talking to our son and I said, you could stop me from constantly saying this, because he would get tired of hearing me say stuff. I said, but you do know you could stop me from saying this. You do know what you could do.
But I think when it comes to listening, what it looks like is I let you share. I don't try to solve it. I might even empathize and say, yeah, that's messed up. That's tough. Right? Let you know that I kind of understand. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And really give you a chance to express yourself. Because these are just some of the things that I wrote down, because what it does is it lets you know, without saying, like you said, I'm listening, I'm participating in the conversation. You had a hard day at work. You had some things that happened, and you just want to just talk about it. And you want me to be in the moment with you, versus what you need to do is this. And then, hey, you want to go out? You want to do this? I mean, I want to make sure that that part of it from our side is something that we should do. And then that's kind of what it looks like when we're actively listening, because that's really what this is about.
Yeah. I think that it's a skill you just have to work at.
Right.
It's not something that's perfect, especially if you're not used to it, especially and given the fact that everyone comes from a different place and a different status. And when I say status, meaning that households, how they grow up and what you see at home and how you envision how you play that out in your own life, because we are a product of our own environment. So I think that listening is a learned skill. I didn't necessarily have an environment where I necessarily thought we were the best listeners, all of us. So I think that we just you had to grow into, and some of that is skills. Some of it, that's workshops. We've gone to marriage workshops.
Right.
We've gone to retreats. We've gone to where people are.
Exercise where I had to repeat everything you said.
You know what I mean? That was a listening exercise.
Right.
So that you understood that everybody walked away, not necessarily always solving a problem, but understanding that you at least heard what my issue was. So I think that sometimes it's just a skill that you have to be a little intentional about.
Right.
It won't be perfect. And I think probably for some people, men and women, again, depending on where you've come from, listening can be just as hard for women. It's not a man thing as far as listening. Right. It is a skill set that individually we may have to practice and get better at. It was a skill set that I had to practice and still practice. Even now when dealing with you, we have to have that practice of, all right, let me give you, and we will stop each other. I'm not done.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which tells the other person, okay, I need to be actively listening because you're still having a conversation.
I'm trying to jump in to make my point versus listening.
Because your point, whatever that is, could be covered because sometimes I would say, wait, if you would just wait, what you're getting ready to say is going to come out.
So here's what I did. So active listening, fellas, is one of them. And what I did was I tried to look at what are the things that we can do, what does it look like, and then what's the benefit. And what that does is it does, when you actively listen, we're connecting, right? We're connecting in a way that you feel like you're being heard. And that's what I hoped I would hear from you, that, you know what, you're right. It's something we should do and something we should work on, right?
Yes, I just think that in active listening, you're really just trying to come to some kind of understanding. Right. Sometimes it may not always be a resolution. And I think that's the hardest part for people.
We want to solve.
Is that you want to solve something that it may not be. And you and I've had that. We've wrestled with that. Sometimes you just got to agree to disagree.
I'm like, what's the big deal? Just do this.
Right. Or you'll say, well, I don't understand. And I say, you may never understand.
Right.
You know what I mean? We've had those where you're trying to understand. And I go, it is just
because
this.
I want to solve it.
Right. And you may have to live with your lack of understanding.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think sometimes you have to figure out, what do you want the resolution to be? Because, I had a conversation with somebody recently about, you can fight to be right, or you could fight to be happy.
Right.
But sometimes they don't coexist in the same space. So sometimes you gotta let go.
So here's what's funny, because when I'm looking at the things that I said, I hope passes, right? Don't be peeking.
Oh,
so
yeah, because I don't know what's on.
So there's the active listening. That's one. The other one, which is closely tied to this, is initiate emotional check-ins. What you said and what I found that women say is, he never asks how I'm feeling. So what that looks like is, we just need to just check in, just make sure that we're connected. Well, why are you laughing?
Nothing. Go ahead.
What do you mean nothing? Why are you laughing?
Because I think men would say, you always tell me how you feel. So I don't check in.
But it's different. And maybe that's not a real good one. But I think that dynamic of women telling us how they feel all the time maybe causes us to be less about checking in to see how they're feeling. And I think that might not be good. It's almost like one of the things that I have here is doing things without being asked.
Like, I do more check-ins than you do. But I don't know why that is.
Me either. I don't know. I don't know if I have an answer for that. I think as I was trying to figure out what we should do or could do, I have to admit that you're right. I don't just check in as much as I should. And I think what women say is he never asked. When I was trying to figure out what is it, we don't ask how you're doing. But I think it goes back to one of the things that you said on the last show is you said we focus on our priorities. We're selfish. The things that we want to get done, we find time to do. I think we are very attuned to ourselves and we are less attuned to you. And then that causes a disconnect, which causes us to not always get it. And it's not any one thing, because selfish adds up to a whole lot of stuff. So what I realized is that I don't check in like I should. You check in with me more. Maybe because, maybe you're being more intentional. I don't know. But I think one of the things that when I was trying to figure out what is it that we can do, we need to ask. And I think
I check in because I think marriages need a pulse check. I think that even if, and especially in our life where, now our kids are young adults, but being a stay-at-home mom, which I was for a long time, and having young kids and having a husband that traveled and had a lot of responsibilities, check-ins were important. I needed to, and then when the times when I wasn't feeling as connected to you, right. I felt like that was really important for me, or even for you to know where we were. The stat, because I think every relationship needs to know what a status is. So sometimes I'm just periodically checking in, and the check-ins are simple for me and you. I mean, they're not conversations. They're literally like, we good? You good? All right. Just want to make sure want to make sure you're good.
Right.
I mean, they're not long drawn out, whatever. It's just a pulse check to say, to give you an opportunity if there's something lingering or something that might have happened that you didn't have, maybe because of work or whatever, you didn't follow back on. I want to be able to, because what I don't want to do, and I think this could happen to people, is always interesting to me when people break up and they go, I had no idea.
Yeah.
He came home and he said he wasn't happy and he wanted to leave. You had no idea?
Well, I think one of the things
that's always interesting to me.
No, but you just said something as I'm looking at the stuff, right? So we talked about listening. We talked about help without being asked. Initiating check-ins. Actually, initiate emotional check-ins. All of this is about connecting. Any of these by themselves might not be it. It could be all of them. It could be 20 things. But in the end, it's about connecting emotionally. Right? Because this whole thing about fellas, what are we doing? You said that what's important to us, and it's true, sex, money,
and
power.
I could be wrong. It's just, to me, that's the visual, and those are the things that you hear guys talk about the most. If there's I'm not a guy, so if there's one of those things.
A woman your whole life, like I told you.
Right. So if there's something out there that guys prioritize over that, look, let me know what that is. That's not what I think the average woman sees. And I'm saying average. There might be women out here who see other things, but I don't think the average woman sees anything different in those items.
But here's what I'm getting at. This is all about connecting with you emotionally.
Yeah, I agree.
And if I connect with you emotionally, what do you think happens?
You get it.
We connect more physically.
Right.
Now, I don't want this to be, listen up, I don't want this to be transactional.
No, and it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. This needs to be something that we want to do. But so you're going to like this one. So we talked about listening, initiating check-ins, help without being asked, just expressing appreciation. Right? Like you talked about being a stay-home mom for, was it 19 years?
19 years.
19 years, right? So
19 years, 3 kids, 19 years.
I don't know if I always appreciated all of what you did. But what I realized was what women say, and you've said it to me, he takes me for granted. And, I'd work all day and want to come home and just chill. You were at home working all day with the house and everything tied to it and the kids. And it's like, you need to keep working. And I took that for granted. And I think there's a lot of guys out there that take it for granted, especially if the woman is stay at home. But I'll go one step further. Let me tell you what else we do. You worked all day and I work all day. When I come home, I still want to take off my shoes and watch the Eagles.
That's it.
And I expect you to go and cook and continue to clean and take care of the kids. So there's this whole thing around us taking our wives for granted and not really appreciating them.
And here's the thing in saying that it is what it is, but I think that sometimes, and I think that we experience this, instead of realizing what it is and doing something about it, people want to get defensive about it. And they want to, you want to have this conversation about something that's actually happening. You know what I mean? We want to defend something that's actually happening. It will be different. And so sometimes even when you and I would have these conversations and I would go, but am I making this up? Because if I'm not making it up, I'm not sure why we're in this mode where I bring something to you and now we're arguing about how you feel about how I feel. That's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm bringing this to you so I can solve an issue about how I feel. Well, you don't like that I bought this to you and how now we're arguing about how you feel about how I feel.
Because I don't want to deal with it.
Because you don't want to deal with it, or or you don't want to look, because to look at that means you do have to change something. So we had the conversation of being taken for granted.
Yes.
And what I got was defense. Yes. Because if I don't get defense, that means you don't have to
acknowledge it.
You don't have to really acknowledge it and do something about it.
So you got me, in this episode, you got me in the spot where, because I've thought this all out, I'm being real nice. I need to just go ahead and defend them.
But I think that's the hard part to me, or at least it was hard. I'm not talking about any other woman. The difficulty for me was with that I just needed that accountability in a situation.
Right.
And because when you can take accountability, but I think some people sidestep accountability so that they don't have to do anything about it. It can leave you in this state of, I didn't know that was going on. And you're like, yeah, but you kind of did, because we had a conversation about it. But again, if you actively listen and actually do something about it or acknowledge that. So I think you appreciated.
I did.
What I did. I didn't really think that at all. What I thought is that there was just no empathy for what I did. There was no, you know what I mean? You appreciated it, but there was no empathy in it. Because
that's why I have to. But that's why, again, fellas, that these are things that need to be expressed or shown.
Right.
Now, there are different love languages, right? But if you want to express appreciation regularly, what that says is, I have to actively say to you, I appreciate that you did, like this morning, you did some things for me, right? Yes. And I said, thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. Right. I appreciate you. Why did I do that? Because I'm like, how can I not? And I know that I do appreciate it. And it's just a matter of how much effort does it take for me to say, hey, I appreciate that you did that.
Well,
so, you know what I mean? Like because here's the thing, and I want you to speak to this because I want to make sure it comes out. There's everything that I see you do that I could appreciate. There's everything that I don't see that you do that I should appreciate. And then there's the invisible labor.
The invisible labor.
And so since the last time we spoke, you talked about invisible labor. I don't know if it was a new description for both of us at the same time. I had never heard it before, but it made me say, there's a whole nother level of why I need to appreciate you, because there's the invisible labor that's tied to what you do around here.
Yes. Speak
to that.
I think that it's just a certain what part do you want me to speak to?
So I have to admit, there's invisible labor for me at work, because I have to think about all the stuff that I'm doing with my team next. Right. So there's all this behind the scenes stuff that I'm doing, that I'm shielding from them, that I don't want them to see, that I don't want them to experience, that where I want to take them, what we need to do, what we need to get ready for. And they do the same thing in their individual role, but I'm doing that for the team. The way I understand it, Here I am explaining it. You're doing that for our household.
And I think it also too, it depends on where you are now in your relationships. I think that now in some marriages or relationships that people have, they split labor. You know what I mean? I think that you and I were probably more traditional, or seeing relationships more traditional, where the woman stays at home and she's doing the, but I also have friends where the wife stayed at home, but the husband took care of all the bills.
Yes.
The husband paid all the bills. The husband did everything. Well, that wasn't our case.
No.
I took care of our home.
That's right.
I took care of our kids. I paid the bills. I did, if
right.
we needed a roofer, we needed whatever, I was doing all that.
Yeah.
But I think the bigger problem was that words of affirmation isn't my love language.
No. And
that was a problem for us.
That's right.
Because you are a words of affirmation person.
Right. So you would
thanks.
say,
thank you. That was great. You're a great wife. You're wonderful. You're a chip off the old block. I love it. And I'm looking at you like, my car needs to be washed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'm an active service person.
Right.
So for me.
So you just expanded the whole thing about appreciation regularly. It might not be words. It might be acts of service.
You need to know.
It might be gifts. Whatever
you need
the love
to know
language
what
is.
that person
Right.
what really makes them feel appreciated. And so you coming home every day after you've worked, and I've been here all day with kids running around doing this, cooking dinner, paying bills, calling people. And you go, I really appreciate you. I love you. You're so great. And I'm like, can you come over here and help somebody do some homework?
Right.
Because my thing is that
I just said a few minutes ago,
I needed
stuff. One of the things is, fellas, do stuff without being asked.
Yeah, I needed somebody to help me take something off the plate.
But you also needed somebody
because somebody else may thoroughly need. I had another friend who was a stay-at-home mom too. Her love language was words of affirmation. So her husband was the opposite. He come in and get stuff done, and she was like, I'm here all day and you didn't say good job.
Right.
You never tell me how great this is. You know what I mean? So I just think that people come from different spaces, and you just need to know what space you're in.
Well, guess what?
Because this love language thing is really real, and how people come into relationships, they are a product of where they came from.
So, but it also says, and this is not written down, we need to be a student of our wife. Right. So I need to know enough about you. I need to be to understand that what your love language is and give that to you.
Here's the thing. You can know it, but what you going to do about it?
That's what I mean.
You know what I mean? Because I think that it is one thing to have information, because I think that there are people who are full of information and they're doing nothing with it. And so you always knew when we started with love language, you knew what our love language was.
I sure did.
You knew what my love language was. You knew what it was.
And
you know what I
nothing.
mean? So I just think that you have to be intentional and purposeful in what it is you're trying to accomplish. It was easy for you to give me words of affirmation because that's your love language, and it's not hard to do. At the root of who you are, you're a kind person, you're a generous person, you have a good character. That's why we're still together. You know what I mean?
Right.
But at the root of that, so those were easy things for you to do.
And that's that whole thing when I was reading earlier, I'm selfish.
You can live in this selfish space. Right. It was harder for you to make time for the things that were important to me. And you didn't have to make time for a thank you.
No.
But you would have to make time to wash my car. You would have to make time to say, hey, honey, I made dinner for you. You would have to make time to say, I got the kids tonight. You would have to make time for that.
And you know what's funny? What's an offshoot of that?
So those were easy things for you to do.
Yeah, and it's funny because we're talking about another thing that we can do is show appreciation, but show it in the way that fits you. One of the things that I have written down here is, it's amazing how the stuff is so closely linked. Show interest in the things that you're interested in. And that wasn't a punchline. Right? So... and what I wrote was, what women say is, he doesn't really care about what I care about.
Some of the things is.
But me, I want to make sure I'm clear.
Some of the things is you have to gauge whether that's important, because what I don't want to do is feel like everything that I love, you need to love. And every place,
no, that's
you know what I mean? I think that we need to be in a space where we allow people to have space to be who they are also.
Right.
You are an extreme extrovert. You like going out, you're flowing, you have friends, you enjoy people, you enjoy the camaraderie of people and conversation and good laughs. Cool. I would never want to stop that. I'm a little more introverted than you. So my thing is that when I discovered you go back to homecoming and you be flowing and I'll be over in the corner.
Somehow though, that didn't come out in the last episode.
But my point was
We're talking in code.
But my point was that I'd rather for you to do that and have joy in that and not me stop that. I don't want to be, you need to be, if you're with the guy that's the extrovert, extrovert, I'm sorry. You need to know that you can be okay being alone in the room, because I don't want to stop that part of you. I don't want you to feel like you got to come over here and stand next to me all night long because that's not who you are. But I don't want to do that.
So let me ask this question then for the guys.
I don't know if I answered that or not, but I think that you got to have space. I want you to enjoy some of the things, but you're not going to watch every TV show I want.
No, I'm not.
I just don't want you to make comments when I'm watching it.
No, but here's...
Why are you watching that mess?
Because it's trash.
Like, why are you watching that trash?
No, but so...
I don't want no comments.
But I'm glad you're saying that, because when it comes to showing interest in your world, my question is, can it look different? Meaning, there are some things that you're interested in that I might not be, but I could ask questions and talk to you about it.
I think if it's important, I think if it's an important thing to somebody, you need to act like you're interested in. You need to find interest in it. But my thing to somebody, I would say that interest should have started before you got married. Because chances are, if most of us, and again, a generality, I don't think most of us find a lot of new hobbies when we get married. So the things but I
don't want to even draw the line there. I'm saying,
okay.
I don't want us to even necessarily draw the line there. I think what I'm getting at when I was trying to figure out what it looks like, if you're interested in some things, then there are different ways that I can show that I am interested in it. I might talk to you about it. Let's say you were interested in museums and things like that, and I decide, okay, I'm going to go with you to the museum, right? You know what I mean? It could be conversations. It could be, I go with you. Again, it's not absolute. You just need to know that I am interested in your world in some form or fashion, so that this is all about connecting.
But here's the thing.
That's all I'm trying to do.
But could my interest be me allowing you to express your love of that thing without me necessarily having to be involved in it?
Like letting you go away for the weekend?
No, meaning that...
To go do it or pursue it?
Meaning that right, exactly. And you not be upset about it, and you not be mad about it, or because what I think is that I
don't stifle you.
Yes, because my thing is that maybe you're married to an outdoorsy person.
Right.
They love the outdoors. They love camping, and you hate it. I don't think that somebody should have to endure a weekend of hating camping. I just don't think I should stop you from doing it. So if you have a group or you have a camping buddy that loves to go out and camp, I shouldn't stop you from doing that. I shouldn't be like, well, every time you turn around, you're going out with your camping buddy. I think that you should know, or prime example, I had a friend whose husband liked to bowl. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that she hated was
bowling.
She didn't like the bowl.
Right.
She didn't have a problem with him bowling, but the problem was he joined all these bowling leagues, so he was always gone.
Well, that's the selfish part of us.
Right. So the part was she wasn't trying to stifle that, but then there was no balance in him doing the thing that he loved. So I think that people can't stifle the person's need to do that, but I also don't think that people should feel committed to saying that I gotta love what you love. I think that me loving what you love is also me giving you the respect to allow you to what's the word? Do what you love.
Right. But
because I think that some people could say, you don't love it. I don't love it. You love it. I don't. So I don't want you to do that. You know what I mean? Versus saying, well, if I love it, you gotta love it. And if I love it, you gotta do it.
And that's not what I'm saying. What I wrote down was, and I'm in agreement, right? I mean, I guess it's not my place, but I'm just saying, women say he doesn't really care about what I care about. What should we do? Ask questions.
Okay.
About our passions, work, friendships, or hobbies. And again, this is really about it's an extension of what we talked about earlier. Appreciating you,
Right.
being interested in you. There's nothing that I've said today as an idea, and you validated it, that doesn't show my appreciation for you, how we can connect, or what have you. I'm not going to go through everything on here because we just don't have the time. But I think my goal today was to take the raking over the coals that you did with me and all the beds.
I didn't think
I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. But I want to talk about one more because I think this is worth including before we end it. Affection without an agenda. Which, you know what the agenda is. The only time I touch you, the only time that I show any kind of affection is always to get it. And what women say is he only touches me when he wants sex. And basically what I'm saying or suggesting, fellas, is that, offer non-sexual affection, holding hands, you know what I mean? Sitting next to each other, kisses without expectations, whatever those things are. It's just, we need to show you that we love you and care about you, rub on you, give you a massage, and it doesn't have to end, in a sexual place, right? So, what's your thought? Does that make sense?
I think it makes good sense. I think that also sometimes the more difficult part, I think, to that is trying to know where your state of your relationship is to begin with. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you may not be initiating sex, meaning the guy may not be initiating. One, you just trying at some point, I just got to get my need met. So
that's right.
It's been a minute.
Glad you said it because I was thinking it.
It's been a minute.
Right.
And I just got to do what I got to do.
Yeah.
So you know what?
That's a whole nother issue.
Right. And so if I got to just touch you tonight just because it's been a minute, that's what I'm going to do.
Right.
But I think the question needs, before you even get there, is that why are we here? You know what I mean? Why are we here? It could be different reasons why you're there. And it could be something that's easily solved, and it may not necessarily be a lack of affection in that way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if she's withholding sex, why is it? Why is she withholding it? Right. So it may not be that she needs you to hold her hand more. It may not be. It could be the way you talk to her. You know what I mean? It could be the way you communicate to her that she doesn't feel loved enough to want to share. It could be how so it could be a different reason other than her needing a physical touch from you.
And you're absolutely right. But I think what I wanted us to do today was, because that's a whole nother discussion.
It is, but I just didn't want you to leave it on, because those are things you can do if that's the state of your relationship.
Right. But here's the thing,
if she's saying you don't touch me enough or you don't show me enough affection, if that's the state of your relationship, sure, those are great things that you could do.
So, and that's
but
really
if that's not,
but this is what
then it comes back to listening to figure out why is she trying. Look, because probably, I mean, most people probably had sex before they got married. If you did, she was getting it. Well, what changed? How did we figure that out?
We talked about that in the last episode. We're not sex before marriage, but we talked about there were things that we did that was okay early on, and all of a sudden it's not good enough anymore.
Right.
But what I wanted us to do today was, from our side of the chair, these are things that we can do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
When it comes to, hey, fellas, what are we doing? Whatever we are doing, it's causing us to be in a certain spot. Some of these things that we talked about today can potentially help, because there might be bigger issues, but if I start to do certain things, maybe the need to address those bigger issues becomes more apparent.
I would say I will preference it in the you and I. Okay. Because then I could say what I would have wanted. I don't know. And I think that the onus would be on the person in the relationship to figure out what his mate would want. What I would have wanted was for you to just to listen more, to really be engaged in not just the things that were important to you, but the things that were important to me. And to feel as though we were in a partnership within our, because see, I think sometimes what muddies relationships. And you and I have always been really, I think, on the same page about kids. You know, our kids are not first in our life.
No.
I love my children. I think they're amazing people, but they've never been first in our lives.
No.
You know, we come first in our life.
Right.
And so it's always been really important to me for us
Because they benefit from that.
Right. And I think along the way, I think you lost sight of that. And so I would have liked to, sorry. I would have liked to have had known.
So well. No,
you know what I mean? I would have liked to have known that. I mean, that we were in the same space with the same level of importance about our relationship. Right. Because one of these days, our kids gonna move away, and and I want us to be where we are now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And we fought to get there. So I would just tell people, in closing, for guys, fight for what you want. And if you want happiness in your relationship, it's there. You just have to connect in all these little ways and figuring out what is really her issue. And if your issue is her, then you've got to then on the flip side, try to make her see that I am doing these things that you want. I am doing these things. And maybe on the other side is that the husband isn't the difficult one. Maybe the wife is. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to paint this like it's always the guy, because it's not. And so sometimes there is a situation where you might have to say, honey, it's not, it's not all me. I'm really, really trying. And this is how I'm doing it. And this is what I'm bringing to the relationship. This is what I need you to value. So I don't want men to think that this is all about y'all having to do all of these things. Because there's a guy who's doing all these things, or there's a guy who will do all of these things.
Right. And
you know what I mean? And still things. So, yeah. So I just think that.
But that's good. That's good.
You know what I mean? So I just say, from my point of view, I'm grateful that we are, you're my dude. And I'm grateful that we are just where we are, and we fought to get here. You know what I mean? There's all love and joy. It ain't perfect.
No.
But none of it will be.
Right.
To the day we die, we're going to be trying to figure out the ebbs and flows. And so one day, and one day it's going to flow right, and one day it's going to ebb in the wrong direction. Right. And you just keep waking up, having the discussion. We had one this morning. That's right. You know what I mean? You just keep up trying to. So it's not really about whether I'm right, because you'll hear comments on it, whether I'm right or wrong. I might not be right for you. I'm right in your situation. Right. I might not be wrong in your situation. Right. So you just have to figure out, you have to pinpoint your situation, and you have to pinpoint what your happiness. And, I asked a friend one time who wasn't happy happy with her marriage. I said, is this what you want your forever to look like? And you have, in our particular situation, we established early on that divorce wasn't an option. That's right. So if divorce isn't an option for us, we've got to figure out.
That's right, because we don't want it to be terrible.
Exactly.
The whole time.
Because forever's a long time. Right. Forever's a long time to be unhappy.
So typically, I give people the last word, but I guess you know that because you said you'll close with your
I didn't
comments.
know that.
Well, you said it there. This might be the last thing I want to say.
Because I felt like I was talking more, so I was like, in my closing.
Yes, so you can talk a whole lot.
In my closing,
yes.
I'll just say this.
Yes, you're closing. So I am glad you came back into the lounge, and I think that you shared a lot of stuff. You validated some of the things that I shared, and because it's always about the fellas, how we could do better. And this episode was all about not just fellas, what are we doing? It's really, hey fellas, there's some things that we can do going forward. So thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
You did a good job.
I appreciate you. Love you.
I won't get to do that often with my guests, so I thought anyway.
Yeah.
So you're like, I better not,
yeah. Right? Then we got other problems.
Hey, fellas, listen. Today was all about, like I just said, not fellas, what are we doing? But hey, fellas, these are some things that we need to do going forward. So hopefully you got a couple of things that will allow you to self-reflect. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week. Be blessed.